Welcome to Leveraging Leadership, where we unpack the art of business leadership. I'm your host, Emily Sander, C-suite executive turned leadership coach. And today I want to talk about remembering the power of your words and growing your leadership tree. And by way of example, I'll share a story about a mentor I had early on in my career. I was lucky enough to have this great mentor back when I was in a lead position, so just one step up from entry level, a relative nobody in the office. But I had this one specific touch point with customers. And because of that, I would occasionally debrief senior leadership on what I was hearing and seeing from these customers. And from those interactions, one of the executives saw something in me and took me under his wing. And he saw a potential for leadership. And the phrase he used, I'll never forget, he was like, "Emily, you've demonstrated fledgling leadership skills." And I was like, "Fledgling leadership skills? Oh my." And I was like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I'm picturing a little plant budding out from the earth, but it turned out to be a good thing. And he and I started meeting, and he would talk to me about a whole bunch of different things. So he talked to me about other parts of the business and how that fit in with what I was doing. We would talk about client contracts. He took me through terms and clauses of client contracts, so I knew what they meant. We talked about the skills I had and what I did well and what I could work on that would be most beneficial to me going forward in my career. So all sorts of stuff. And in one of these meetings, he almost offhandedly said, "Well, you could run that department one day." And it was like, da 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 da. "Well, you could run that department one day, da 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 da." And that stopped me cold in my tracks because at that time, that was completely outside of what I understood to be possible for me. I think I literally looked around my shoulder and was like, did someone just come in the room? Because you can't be talking to me. He might have well have sat there and said, "Emily, you're going to go to the next Olympics and gold medal in ribbon twirling." And I would have had the same reaction as like, yep, that's about as likely as me running a department one day. So I kind of gave him this like crazy eyes look, and he saw it and he laughed and chuckled and said, "Okay, maybe not today, but one day you could." And so in that moment, I didn't believe this for myself, but because he was saying it, and because he was this accomplished, experienced, highly professional senior executive, I thought maybe it could be true. And so by simply introducing this idea into my mind, I said, okay, maybe this expands what I understand to be possible for myself, and maybe I'll let that sit there just in the back of my mind. Over time, that seed began to sprout and grow, and I did think more about management roles, and I did think more about maybe people management is something I want to do. And later on, I did get promoted, and I was tasked with building that company's very first client management team. And this was an international team. So I was hiring people in the Americas, in EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and APAC, Asia Pacific regions, and I was running this team. So just crazy experience. It was all new to me. It was hugely challenging, but overall just a lot of fun and a great experience. And shortly after I got promoted, I went back and met with my mentor, and I said how appreciative I was of all he did for me. And I told him about how that one conversation had had a real impact on me. And I asked him if there was anything I could do to repay him. Is there anything I could possibly do to repay you? And without missing a beat, he said, "Yes, there is." And I sat up and I said, "Okay, let me pay attention and really take in what he's about to say." And he said, "Emily, pay it forward. Pay it forward, because from now on, you're going to have opportunities to open doors for people they can't open for themselves. And if you see potential in someone, open a door." And he's continued to say, after I got my big break, I asked my mentor the same thing you just asked me, and he told me to pay it forward. And so now I'm telling you. And I knew in that moment, I would remember that comment for a really long time. And I still remember that even today. So it's had a real impact on me. And I did make it my goal to actively look for those opportunities. And fast forward a few years later, when I was preparing to leave that company, I knew that one of my direct reports would be a great internal backfill for my role. And for a variety of reasons, he wasn't the obvious choice for that role. He would never have thought of that for himself in the first place. He never would have raised his hand for it. And then for a bunch of political reasons, he wasn't the go-to person for that backfill. But through conversations with him and getting him on board with that and then making a case to leadership, I was able to tell him that he got my role on my last day. And that is still my favorite, the best last day I've ever had. All by way of saying, never underestimate the power of your words and how one small comment can literally change the trajectory of someone's career and therefore their life. And likewise, don't underestimate the power of your own vision. So you might see something in someone else they can't or don't see in themselves. So what they're good at or what they could become. Don't assume they know. Tell them. And even if they already know or they already have a sense of it, that they're good at this thing, very few people are going to sit there and say, please stop complimenting me. Like, please, I can't take one more nice thing that someone says about me today. We almost have the opposite problem most of the time. Speak vision over people, give people encouragement, and be excited for their success. Okay, this brings us to the concept of a leadership tree. And I first heard about this concept in the sports world when people in NFL football talk about someone's coach's tree. So if there's a head coach of a football team like Bill Belichick, who has a whole bunch of assistant coaches who are coaching the offense or defense, or they're the quarterback coach, and then they go and branch off and start coaching their own team. So they become a head coach of a different team. They're still known as being part of Bill Belichick's coach tree. So same principle in the business world. Throughout my career, I've had bosses and leaders, and I have a connection and commitment to them because I'm part of their leadership tree and trying to do my best to carry on their supportive approach or the type of leadership style that they espoused in me. And on the flip side, I'm really proud of my own leadership tree, and I can sit here and look back and say, I've had chances to say or do something that helps someone else out, take their next step. And that can be something big and demonstrable, like getting someone a promotion, or it could be something really small, where it was a conversation or just a quick exchange where I had it with someone, it was just between me and the other person, and it meant a lot to them. People have contacted me years later saying, hey, Emily, when you said this to me or when you did this, it really made a big impact. And, some of the time I'm honestly like, I don't remember saying that or I don't remember doing that, but it's so great to hear from you. And it's so awesome to hear all the things that you've been up to and you've been able to achieve. So this might be something you're not even aware of. You're not even aware you're doing it today, or you're taking it for granted that you're doing it. But a good reminder for us to go into each day and each interaction showing up the way you want to as a leader, because you never know what kind of impact you're having on someone. And one note in all of this, I've heard this sentiment expressed in a couple different ways, but it's that reluctance to mentor someone or help someone who might end up doing better than them. They might end up doing better than me. I understand where this is coming from. There's a lot of competition and ego and jealousy and all the things we do, and those are very real things. But I think this looks at things the wrong way. If a mentee or someone you mentor surpasses you, that's a reflection of you. That's a reflection of the things you were able to say or do for them. And it's a reflection of your own ability to make a difference for them in that moment and be a catalyst for them. So it seems to me that true leadership is being able to say, when you get better, I get better. When you help people, I help people too. And goodness knows we need as many people as we can out there doing good things, making a positive impact. So please grow your leadership tree with reckless abandon. Okay, it's takeaway time. So 4 takeaways for you. Number 1, pay attention to your words. Pay attention to your words. And when I say your words, I do mean your words. So a lot of people, when I say this, go, no, Emily. No one cares what I say. You must mean those people over there, those important people. It matters what they say, but it doesn't matter what I say. No. It matters what you say. What you say today could plant a seed that will change someone's life. Seriously, what you say today could make a huge impact on someone. What you say directly, what you say indirectly, how you make people feel, that can make a huge difference. Do not discount your words. They mean a lot. 2, keep an eye out for untapped potential. Look for it. Actively look for it in your team and organization. I guarantee you have untapped potential in your organization right now. Also, let your direct reports know that you expect them to be looking for it as well. A cool thing you can do in your leadership meetings, so if you have like a leadership meeting once a week or once a month or what have you, save a spot on the agenda for people to go around and talk about someone who's doing really well in their team. And it might be someone who's a couple layers deep, so the other members of the leadership team don't have any real reason to know who they are. But who is a top performer, who's going above and beyond, who's coming up with creative ideas, who's like just kicking butt and taking names, let the other members of the leadership team know about those people. And this can be a short debrief. It can be, here's their name, here's what they do, here's their normal job, and then here's what they're doing extra. Or here's what they're doing particularly well that's worth mentioning and keeping an eye on. And these individuals might very well be the next leaders in your company. And this exercise is great because it does two main things. One, it just lets the leadership team know about these high potential people. And so if they see them in the hallway or they see them on a Zoom call and they've heard that name before, have seen that name before, it's like, oh, I know who that person is. Two, it makes your leadership team look for these people. So if they have to tell you about them and if they have to debrief the entire leadership team on them, they're going to have to keep an eye out for them. And better yet, they're going to have to cultivate them within their teams. Number 3, third takeaway, who is in your leadership tree? Who have you taken the time to invest in and plant that seed and giving guidance and advice to and help bring along into a fully fledged leader? Depending on where you are in your career, this answer might vary. So if you're sitting there going, Emily, I just got into a position where anyone would even look at me to be a mentor, that's totally fine. Just keep that top of mind as you go forward. If you're in late stage career and you still have 0 branches on your tree and your tree is like wilting and dying, then it might be looking at ways to rejuvenate that and say, okay, let me be really intentional and set aside some time to really go after things and share some knowledge and all this experience that people can draw from. Number 4, fourth and final takeaway, who has been a great mentor or leader to you? And I'll expand that to anyone who's just given you a word of encouragement when you needed it. We rarely get to where we are alone. We've had help along the way. So if you know who those people are for you, reach out to them and thank them. And this doesn't have to be some grand big thing. It can be like shooting them a 2-sentence email or a 2-sentence text. If you don't know where they are these days, look online on LinkedIn. You could probably find them. But your quick note could make their day. I mean, people love hearing about what they've done for people and where they are now. And, they might be having a really bad day and they might be having a really bad time of things in their life or career where maybe they just got into a new job and they're feeling like, I don't know how to do anything. I can't do anything right. Everyone hates me. I have imposter syndrome. And getting that note from you could be a reminder of, oh, maybe I do know what I'm doing. And yes, I have done good things for people. And yes, I can do something new. So all of that comes into play. So who has been a great mentor or leader for you? Go reach out and thank that person with a quick note today. Okay, those are the takeaways. As I wrap up here, I did want to share, as I was putting together notes for this episode, I took my own advice and I reached out to people who had done something for me. And one of those people was the mentor that I mentioned at the top of this episode. And so he and I got to talking and I was telling him what I was up to and I mentioned this podcast. And I said offhandedly, you'd be more than welcome to be a guest on the show if you wanted to. And he actually said yes. He said he would love to. And so I will be recording an episode with him, which will be great. He has been a CEO of a number of different companies. He's a CFO and knows finance by trade. And he's won 2 Best Places to Work awards. So just a great things for all things leadership. And he's a great guy, good people. And I'm really looking forward to sharing that episode with you. I'm not sure of the exact release date yet. We're still working on coordinating a time to record it, but just wherever you're getting this podcast right now, stay tuned and it'll be an upcoming episode. With that, I'll sign off and thank you for listening to Leveraging Leadership, and I will catch you next week.
This episode is brought to you by Next Level Coaching. If you or anyone you know would like to learn more about executive leadership coaching, please visit www.nextlevel.coach.